you're a very disconcerting filmmaker. I mean, we go to see a grandiose Western 70 millimeter and everything, and we see that, and also a thriller and a horror movie and a very political movie. Do you do that on purpose? Do you want that?
Well, it's funny that you say that. I mean, I guess I guess the answer is yes, I do. Am I thinking about that? As I'm writing that first page, all right, with the blank piece of paper and the pen. I don't know if I'm thinking about all that then, but I probably usually have a more modest mandate at the beginning. But I'm hoping that it'll grow and it'll be bigger. But I always have, and I think it's my natural way of thinking to try to include quite a few genres in any one movie that I'm doing. I think there's a few different elements, and I think it's just the way my mind works. I think I like that as a viewer, so that's what I try to offer. And if you can pull it off, I think that ends up being a really good night at the movies.
And it's probably your most politically most subversive movie, if you want to call it like this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Why is that?
Well, I didn't really know that was where I was coming from on it. In fact, I think maybe at the beginning I was thinking maybe I was taking a break from the politics, especially after something like Django. But I think one of the things that Westerns can do is I think they can, especially when it comes to America itself, Westerns reflect the decade that they were made, probably more than any other a period genre that you deal with. I.e. the Westerns of the 50s definitely reflected an Eisenhower America, and definitely reflected what American considered was American exceptionalism, i.e. coming out of World War II. And and if you go through the late 60s and the early 70s, those Westerns were very cynical and very bitter, and they reflected campus unrest. They reflected Vietnam. They reflected the Watergate. And I think, but I didn't really know that was necessarily what I was doing. I thought I was writing a chamber piece that would become a mystery. But then at some point, I realized by introducing the Southern Confederate characters, introducing a black cavalry officer character, that I was creating kind of a blue state, red state Western to one degree or another, that I think but I didn't know that was where I was heading with it. But then also, frankly, events in the press have conspired to make my movie even more relevant and more up to date than it was when I wrote it. All right. Well, it just the whole the shooting at the church of Mother Emanuel, the controversy over the rebel flag, which has brought the entire Confederacy into a questionable state that I've always felt has been the case, but America seems to have turned a blind eye towards it. Now all of a sudden they're looking at it. And do we need, Confederate generals having statues in the park?
The thing is that we don't know who's going to make it at the end. We don't know what's going to happen to the character. But we know that one thing is not going to survive is the politically correct aspect of movies today, and thank God.
Yeah, right.
But the question is, can a filmmaker be relevant if it stays politically correct?
Well, I mean, if they have any filmmaker that has a mandate other than the integrity of their story and the integrity of their characters, is just not working with integrity. All right, they're not plumbing the depths. They're just bringing up a subject isn't the same thing as dealing with a subject. It's just surface, and you need to break the surface if you're going to actually deal with things. Now, now you will turn as many people off conceivably as you turn on when you do that. But then also, those are the films that controversial truths don't seem so controversial 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And you have to remember, as the French very well know, that film has a long, long life, and conceivably the most insignificant aspect of its time is when it is first released.
You were probably one of the most traditional filmmaker in the best sense of the word from the beginning, from Reservoir Dogs to today. The difference now is that you're not the only one. I mean, movies like Mad Max are going back to a traditional way of filmmaking, and he's not the only one. Runner World, the last one, maybe Star Wars, it seems to be like this one. How do you explain that? How do you explain that we come back to this tradition of filmmaking?
Well, I mean, nothing could make me happier. All right, I really appreciate that. You know, I mean, I don't want to be the guy that like just bangs one drum all the time. But yeah, I'm not enamored with, for the most part, digital filmmaking, especially then attached to digital projection. To me, like those are the cameras you use to shoot football games. Those are the cameras you use to shoot game shows. You don't use those to shoot, dramatic stories.
25 years ago, you were working on Reservoir Dogs, something like that.
Yeah.
Correct. Is it the same Quentin Tarantino? I mean, in other words, is your love of movies and filmmaking different today?
I think my love of I think it is different. I think I think the bedrock base of it is exactly the same, but I think actually it's evolved and has gotten more nuanced.
Why?
And if anything, has gotten deeper through through knowledge. And I mean, one of the things that's actually wonderful about my life is I would be a film fan if I had to work a normal job and do that normal job, and that would be my passions on the off times. One of the things that film gives me that's really, it's really fortunate, it's one of the joys of my life, is the fact that, so I make a movie, and when you do that, that's what you're doing. And I don't really watch a whole lot of movies that year that I'm making a film. But when when it's all over, I've done around the world, and I'm officially done, I go into my film scholarly situation, and I'm voraciously watching movies, but also just like I'll think of an actor, or I'll think of a director, or a genre film, or a country's cinema, or the cinema of an era, and then I'm voracious about that, and I study it, and I watch it, and I make notes for possibly to do something about that later, and then I get through to the end of that, and then I move on to something else, and it's like I'm studying for my professorship in world cinema, and the day I die is the day I graduate.
I want to be a student for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And very last thing, the Morricone question. You have one of the specialists of Western, and you ask him a horror kind of score. Why is that?
Well, I didn't ask him for a horror score. I didn't put any dictates on it. I didn't figure he would give me a Western score. Not like Two Mules for Sister Sarah. I didn't think that he'd be coming from that way, because I think he's thought that was over and done with as far as he's concerned. Nor does this movie that movie. But I was very interested in where he would be coming from, because we didn't do the thing where he scores a scene scores music to this one scene, and then that's what we're looking at. No, he read the script, and he wrote the music that he thought would be appropriate, not for any scene in particular, but that would be appropriate for the different moods of the script. And I can use, and he can give me some things that I could use, a little bit more of a suspense beat. Well, he's got that there. He wants more of a moment here, a little more of a sentimental moment. Well, he has that amongst these pieces. And so he gave it up to me to use as I saw fit. And what he saw more than anything else was a suspense horror film. I mean, there's even giallo elements to his score.